Good evening, everybody. We Ukrainians are about to finish our conference. We had our friends from Georgia, Russia, and Belarus. But I would like to finish this by making some conclusions and lessons learned, or we can learn from these lectures, presentations, and speeches of our today's friends. Vera Kitchenova was telling about the Libertarian Party of Russia, and what I personally grasped of what we can be armored with, what they're doing there in Russia, in Libertarian Party. They have conferences, seminars, and another thing they're doing is they participate in different political activities, those direct response activities. So both things can be actually used to promote freedom, because our conference is bright. I would be very sorry if we just dismiss from this room this evening and without continuing our efforts in the future that are, of course, very important for our country. Libertarian Party of Russia. What's being done in Belarus so far? We had Yaroslav speaking, but unfortunately Anton already left. This is a representative of the Liberal Club. Maybe you talk to him during networking, during the lunch break and coffee breaks, as he told about what they're doing in their libertarian movement. This is an ongoing everyday work, making conclusions over the week. They're doing a huge amount of work. And he was saying that even in such a closed system like the Belarusian one is, with patience and effort, one can actually influence the political agenda in Belarus, at least from the economic policy standpoint. So actually, let's make conclusions so that we do not just dismiss and that's it. Political action is possible. Whoever is interested in that, there is a meeting there in Maidan. Let's go with the Libertarian or Liberal Initiative over there. Let's do posters, flags. Let's go to the presidential administration. Well, last time I saw Kaha Bintukidze alive, it was at the Kiev School of Economy. Yulia was moderating the discussion. He said that if you're sick, then do something. If you love your country and you're truly willing success for it, then just get in, show your efforts. I've seen soldiers' mothers under the presidential administration who were begging the president to demobilize some of the soldiers and somehow change their lives. And he mentioned that these mothers, it's a painful thing for them. This is very important for them. And you kids can go and spend overnight at the presidential administration, then you will influence. When maybe this is one of the tracks we can follow, political actions. Maybe it's interesting for some of the people. For others, it's more interesting to organize conferences, seminars, workshops. Let's keep moving in the both direction. One does not contradict with another. And the third thing is informational policy. We already have the platform that we can use. You can post your articles, blogs, messages, columns. We already have the platform, so it's very brilliant that we have it. We're not. We can do translations, publications. I also was involved in publishing the book called Morality of Capitalism, because I honestly think that with this book we can expand the number of proponents and supporters of this idea. And the book is really worth reading, because freedom over there is brightly and seductively described, and you could just falling in love with it. So I think this morality of capitalism and freedom are two important things. So I actually supported publication of this book. So there are so many different dimensions. Whoever finds it interesting, let's keep moving, but let's not lose each other, and only together we can reach success. Not everything is yet lost. We have chances, I'm sure. Yulia, good evening. Can you tell me, who are Ukrainians over here so that I know? Oh, nice. Who used to be there in Maidan? Class. Who is still alive after the second day of conference? And that's very positive, I believe. My name is Yulia. As I was already introduced, I work at the Kiev School of Economy, and this picture is just to attract more of your attention. This is a person that we used to work with for a long time and talked a lot in the last 6 months. The topic of our discussions, I think, is one of the most important ones, and I feel really sorry that many people already left. The most important thing to do is to be active. Kaha is a bright example of not just intellect, ideas, but action also. So the thing that I personally want to convey to you and share with you, that it's not enough sometimes to only know, but you need to do something about it. Just about activists so far, about what's going on, because actually everything is in our hands, and I'm going to be telling briefly of what we've done and my personal experience about freedom and this topic since 2010. There is Stanislav, who already spoke today, and some other colleagues of ours. We started from the liberal camp. At that time, I wouldn't even understand what means liberty, libertarian, freedom. It was too much complicated for me. So that's the way we called it. It was such a summer camp in order to expand and share information about freedom and liberty just for students. We started as students, there was 30 people around, nothing specific. But this is the way my way started. I did it my way, as one singer sang. This is actually the toolkit about how you can do things, not just to be aware of what can be done, but just to do things. Another thing, owing to Tom Palmer, this is a fantastic person with huge network. We managed to organize an emergency economic summit. It just turned out that my boss was appointed to be the Minister of Economy one day, and I had to help with the organization. It was a big chance for us. And I would like to say sincere words of gratitude to Atlas. This is a global network that supports us and helps us develop the ideas of freedom. And we managed to organize this emergency economic summit, which I think would be worth joining. Maybe you want to do something like that, but it was my own personal next step. And the essence of this event, you probably heard about it already, is to give some develop concrete recommendations for our government for reform. And Andrei, just before me, showed a very nice slide where there were so many different familiar faces of global reformers. We've seen some of them there in the summit. What I would like to actually underline right now, this is the thing that I lived with for a long time already and still continue to. This is the Open Maidan University. Has anybody heard or seen anything like this ever? Yes? Good. Great. So it started with an idea, being there in the street, being there in the square. Like most of us, we realize the content that is on the main stage is something that is really pitiful, and people spend so much time physically standing in the low temperature. So making this silo society pressure, civil society pressure. That was a fact that helped us win the regime, the former dictatorship regime of former President Yanukovych. And being there in Maidan, we realized that we need some more intellectual content. And that's where we started our initiative. I can tell you hours about it, but we're so limited in time. That's how it started. There were a lot of obstacles. However, common people just were put together, they joined. Those who believed in human capital, who realized that people are the most important ingredient. So it was a very good tool to inform people, to make people aware. These conferences are organized not to teach anyone, but actually to inspire people to action so that you come back to your places. Most of the people came from Kiev, so you do some work in your communities, in your community groups, to do some action which will have an impact on the society. The outcomes and the results so far, they're in Maidan, 298 lectures on different topics. This is not only about freedom and liberty, this is leadership as well, responsibility, art and history class. As you can see, our speakers there, very diverse, from Microsoft CEO, Mr. Shimki, who is now the Deputy Chief of Staff at the Presidential Administration, to scholars, scientists, people of art, and activists, people who've had experience and knowledge to be shared. This Open University of Maidan today continues to operate. Right at present, we have the School of Conscious Citizenship in Kharkiv. And actually, on our plan, there are 12 different cities. We've already been to Kamenets-Podilsky, Chernihiv, Vinnytsia. So the main purpose of the project is to train civil society leaders on sites in cities. So we give concrete tools to those people who work in their communities on how to keep an eye on governments, how to keep them under control, how to get organized to solve some important issues. We have to realize that liberty we were talking about in the last 2 days is not something abstract. Primarily, this is about responsibility, and responsibility always requires leadership. As soon as you actually get this perception, you got to do more and act more productively. So these are 5 facts of Maidan, of the University of Maidan. I really love this slide. Our audience, including lectures, video lectures across 12 different cities we cover, is growing rapidly. And Slava asked a very interesting question, how we can actually put pressure, civil society's pressure against the system in our communities. And this is where I put my post in Facebook. Maybe some of you have already seen the picture. Raise your hands if you've seen this. Good job. So out of 11,000 odd likes, I had something like 13,000 shares. This is a picture from one of the anti-corruption bureau, and he was driving so madly that he actually left me behind very aggressively, and then he came out of the car, stepped out of the car and started shouting at me. So I took a picture of that. It was also my responsibility not only to just show people what kind of asshole that he was, but just to show, to speak up, to show to people what is possible, so that you can do a simple change, and when you have to talk about if you don't like the situation, just do something about it. It was a relatively passive step of mine. I just put it on Facebook, and I distributed this information among my friend journalists. And in 15 minutes after this post, I had around 30 different messages that I received with the first and last name, contact phone numbers of this guy, who you can see here in the photo. And it turned out that 2 years ago, he would actually hit a person in his car. So he actually paid to the court to get rid of the custody. And there were comments made by people, Inter-channel, TV channel, trying to investigate the case that this car had the wrong plate on it. This plate belonged to a different one. And this story ended up with deprivation of the car, and he paid a big administrative fine. This is a small example of a little effort of yours, a little action, and I'm sure that this Facebook post may be a funny one, but still, it triggered some change, at least in the consciousness of those public servants who have their official IDs and keep showing them in case they're in trouble, to try to be super influential. And as for our action, as I already mentioned, we worked a lot with Kacha, and you can see Vladimir Fedorin, who you already had a chance to listen to. Alexander Daniluk, this is a professional reformer. And we also started such a project as a liberal economy center just to train, or to prepare solutions for the parliament and our Ukrainian government that will be facilitating them in their unpopular reform implementation and decisions that will help us build market economy, competitive environment, and change the system. So you can expect some more news about this project from us soon. We're just starting. And in a wrap-up, I would like to say, with such a phrase that you can see at the Lviv University, it's been used by a party called Self-Alliance in their running for elections. You take it and do it. This is what the phrase says. This is what Kaha did, this is what other reformers did, and this is what Atlas has been doing lately. What these guys are doing from Reed, who organized this summit. Anytime if you try to complain and blame someone else, you are not getting anything. But conscious people who take responsibility for their own lives, they keep doing things and get things done. This is what I leave with you. Take it and do it, come back to your communities and do your job to the extent possible just to change the situation in this country. Thank you very much indeed. Good evening, dear friends. I would like to tell my small presentation in Ukrainian. However, we have friends from Georgia and Russia who visited us today, for which we thank them very much indeed. And I wanted to tell you a story of Students of Liberty in Ukraine, what we're doing, what kind of objectives and goals our organization has in order to change, for a change. We want to change many things, and as I can see, it would have been really great if we could work with people's mentality shift. Most of the young people right now has become very patriotic and started actually respecting their country. Maybe our friends from Russia do not have enough understanding of what I'm saying. I can switch to Russian. I will. Then I would like to tell you also about one thing. I'm from Eastern Ukraine, and I was going to the university in Lugansk, and I was a Euromaidan activist in Lugansk, as well as in other regions of Eastern Ukraine. We had many people over there. There are different Maidans attended by patriots who were standing for the idea of integral and unified Ukraine and for the Ukraine's future. But unfortunately, however, over time, in around a month after we started being there in the streets in Lugansk, those people were moved aside a little bit. First it was just words, then they started the real blackmail and threatening was going on. Some of them even gave their lives, some others moved to different cities. This is why these people, and including myself, starting being very interested in this libertarian movement. And Students for Liberty is an organization which gives an opportunity for the youth to make their contribution to libertarianism. And given our current Ukrainian agenda, not on Ukraine, but in Ukraine, I'm sorry, we can change the younger generation, students and others who have been very active and can see really that Ukraine is capable enough to take a considerable step forward. This is us, I think, who will be the best option to push the process forward. So we thank very much the organizations that help us do it and employ our capacities, because like I already said, most of the people of senior age and my lecturers and teachers in life, being teachers of the Ukrainian language, over time they changed their thinking or their ideology and started supporting the Russian idea, and this is their choice. I believe this is a choice for anyone and everyone. When people start being aggressive against others, not just using words, but also taking guns in their hands, this kind of activity is no good. Our organization called Students for Liberty started its operation 3 months ago. It was registered in Ukraine, and this is the first libertarian event in Ukraine, which I believe will give an opportunity for students and future and people in the future who will be active and will be able to change Ukraine for the better in the future, and employ their capacities and raise their hands to the extent we want it to be. As for how to increase our organization, because we are not great yet, whenever you have an idea, it's still hard to implement it if it's just about one person. So we're seeking for support from other people who want to support our organization and build a relationship with us, for us to be bigger, involve a greater number of people, so that when we get together in universities at certain gatherings, around table discussions, just by sitting and talking informally about ideas of liberalism and economically viable things, political stuff, we could have made much more. As for how to join us in the future, we will distribute all the registered visitors of the conference, all our emails and invitations to join regarding how we're going to work in the future and how you can be part of the process and get tuned up. Okay, thank you. I just want to briefly tell you that this is the first conference for Students of Liberty, but this is not the first conference for libertarians. Because in January we launched a magazine on politics and economy. Since spring, we started being actively involved in lectures, delivering lectures across the Ukrainian universities. We visited 7 or 8 different cities. That's why I would like to just correct my friend a little bit. I wanted to give an opportunity for you to ask questions, or anything you wanted to know about our activists, but you were concerned of asking. And let's give 10 minutes for this. Has anybody got any questions, please?
How to do and what to do. Hello, Dmitry. I'm an activist myself, and I've been to many organizations like ISIC. My friend was in the European Youth Parliament. In ISIC and lots of leadership organizations, they've been for quite some time. Thanks a lot. Our organization wants to cooperate with our colleagues who are working in this field, and I think that it's the only way. It's not the better way to be alone, and you have to involve people from other organizations, even as speakers, to exchange experience. And I talked about partners. We want to cooperate. We are quite new, but however, the Students for Liberties exists for more than 5 years. both in the USA, where it was open, and European countries, lots of subsidiaries, lots of offices. And we've just created an office in Ukraine, and we'll grow, and we'll be happy if you join us.
Есть какие-нибудь вопросы еще?
Do you have any more questions? Good evening, my name is Marina, and I want to ask, there are some good guys here, nice organizers, but we will leave this conference, go home. What we will do next? Is there any other communication platform? Or maybe you're planning to create one. What to expect?
Я позволю ответить себе, потому что, как я уже упомянул,
Let me answer your question. We're organizing a lecture in universities of Ukraine, and we'll be happy if we have
которые будут заинтересованы в продвижении
people interested in promoting the ideas of liberty in their cities and towns. I met a person who works at a factory, but he's has a very interesting ideas, so he wants to promote the ideas of liberty on the ArcelorMittal factory, and we will give you any support if you want. And we have a Read magazine. If you can send us your articles, we'll be happy to publish it. Did I answer your question? The communication between the participants of the conference, just watch for our updates on the Read website. We organize events of a lesser scale. We will try to cover Ukraine periodically. If you want to be organizer, we will give you any support necessary. Just write me a message, and I will add a few words. We have SFL group, SFL Ukraine in Facebook, and we want to create a website for Ukraine, and you can watch for the updates. You can find it in Facebook. You can subscribe. Also, Read group in Facebook is also there. You can see the announcements in this group. Anything else? Do you have any informational platform that we need to start with to give lectures in different cities? Maybe there are leaders that can start the activities in different cities, maybe have some basic material to start with. We want not only Kiev residents visit this conference, but also people from other cities and towns, and people who are interested for developing students for liberty in other towns or universities. We can meet with activists and provide all information plus workshops for you to be able to give information to your audience in your university. And our knowledge and Students for Liberty is based on libertarian ideas, on Hayek, like different articles. I'll just add that Morality of Capitalism is the best book. Is the best book or short manual on libertarianism. We thank you all. Julia, can you please rise?
Спасибо большое.
Thank you.
У нас осталась единственная Единственное запланированное в программе мероприятие,
We have
именно заключительное
the
слово. Я бы
last
хотел передать
event, and I would
моему коллеге Никите Комарову,
like to give the floor to Nikita Komarov for the final
главным
word,
двигателем этой
and he was
конференции.
a main driving
Скажите
force
заключительное слово.
behind this conference.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Немногие, я смотрю, дожили до конца.
I see not many people
Я бы
survive
хотел
the end of the conference. I would like to
во-первых, своих коллег,
thank my colleagues, organizers, Vyacheslav,
Екатерину Равнову, которая
Ekaterina
все красивые и некрасивые
Rovnova, who drew at least nice and not so nice pictures that told about our speakers who found their times to find efforts to communicate with you, and I would like to thank you because these were 2 days, 2 hard days. We learned a lot about each other. We've met, we listened to each other, we shared ideas. We had a nice party. I see that many people who visited the parties and did not make it today. I think it means the party was great. I think it's only the beginning, and everyone found helpful contacts even among such people as me. If you have any questions, just go on. And I want to give the floor to Lucas, who was organizer for this conference for Students for Liberty, and he can say a few words as well.
All right. Just to say a few words before we all part our ways now. I want to thank you all for coming as well on behalf of European Students for Liberty. Don't forget, this is only the beginning. This is the first event that European Students for Liberty ran, and I hope that I will see all of you again at our future events, not only here, but also all across Europe. And in that sense, if you basically got a taste of how awesome such events like this one is, you can even visit the one in Berlin, which is in a much larger scale. In early April, we will expect around 750 students from all over Europe in Berlin, and you're all invited to come and basically celebrate liberalism with us and to learn more about all of these ideas. I want to once more also thank all our partners, especially like Slava Nikita, who organized everything on the ground, the Atlas Network for supporting this event, Students for Liberty Ukraine, Read Magazine, and everyone else who basically made all this happen. And I just want to finish off with a quote from Hayek. He ended his essay, The Intellectuals and Socialism, with that. And it's a quote that basically should us, it is an inspiration for us to get engaged, to basically care about the ideas and to not just let this conference be the conference and go back to our daily lives, but to care about freedom. So Hayek said, unless we can make philosophical foundations of a free society once more a living intellectual issue, and its implementation a task which challenges the ingenuity and imagination of our liveliest minds, the prospects of freedom are indeed dark. But if we can regain that belief in the power of ideas, which was the mark of liberalism at its greatest, the battle is not lost. The intellectual revival of liberalism is already underway in many parts of the world, and will it be in time? I hope if we all work hard and if we all get engaged, then in Ukraine, in Europe, we will be in time to increase freedom and prosperity. I'm looking forward to see you all again. I had an amazing time in Kiev. It's a wonderful city. It's a very fun city. And I hope to see you all again soon. Thank you.